Thank you very much. I'm definitely going to keep this very short because even though I'm on a macrobiotic diet, even I'm hungry. So I can imagine what you people must be. And besides, most of the things I was going to say have already been said. So I'm not exactly sure what I could say at this time, except to know who is this guy anyway? This is wow. But you know. You know, the first thought I had when I heard Joe speak, and incidentally, that just speaks volumes about Joe Clark and the firm of Steele, Hector, and Davis, that they would even contemplate doing something like this. It's just pretty amazing to me. I think it speaks to him, to the firm, to the community, and I think we have a special community here that is different than in most places. And there are people who say a lot of things about South Florida and Miami, but I think it's a great place, and I really made a wise choice in coming here to live. The only thing I didn't understand, Joe, is that if you thought so much of me, how come you didn't come in and interview at our law firm? Because I remember all those interviews, and you were definitely not one of them. You know, sometimes I think that the people you do associate with are so important. And, you know, I am so proud that people like Chesterfield Smith and Aaron Pothurst and Joe Clark and obviously Larry and Bob would co-host something for me. It makes me very proud to think that I'm associated with people of such caliber and quality and that they would do this for me. This whole thing has been almost surreal. This, you know, where was the Miami Herald years ago when I needed them? I mean, no, I'm only kidding. I mean, they've been just so wonderful to me. I keep reading these things and saying, "Whoo, this is really something." But you know, one of the things that I must make clear, though, is that I've been getting all this credit, but, you know, Bob and Larry really did do a few things around the office. You know, really. I really believe that the strength and character of Greenberg Traurig was created because of our relationship and mutual respect and interdependence, and it set a tone. And I hope, and I know that those who've been at the firm for a long time, I truly believe, have become part of that tone of giving to each other and trying to work together. I remember years ago we had a consultant come in and look at our firm, and when we did our transition from the old guys to the new structure, and he said he never saw a firm where people were willing to do things for each other as much as they were in our firm. And I think that was the kind of tone that set a foundation upon which the firm was built and hopefully will continue to be built. It's important, I think, to have those kind of feelings about each other, especially in a professional relationship where you work so closely together. You know, when I was told about my present problem, and I've had a few over the years, but this one is clearly the biggest challenge that I've had. And basically told them that Western medicine had no real solution, and I looked on for other alternatives, and they call it alternative healings and complementary treatment and holistic and dietary. One of the things I'm on is a macrobiotic diet, which is, people ask me what it is, I say it's much easier to tell you what I can eat than what I can't eat, because you can eat so few things that it's much simpler to describe. But as part of all that, I've been visiting with Rabbi Glustein, and I appreciate his remarks that he made at the beginning. And we've been talking about part of all of this is a spirituality and trying to redefine your relationships, both with your friends, your family, your work, your God. And of course, with the rabbi, I've been discussing that part, and the spirituality, to try to encourage yourself to have the strength to combat these horrendous diseases that I happen to have, that others will have, hopefully not, but we all at some time. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. And it's a question of, enhancing the quality of the life you have, regardless of the time you have left. It's a win-win kind of approach to living, which is easier to do when you're challenged the way I have been challenged, and when you're doing and leading your ordinary lives, much more difficult to change. But as part of that, we've been reading from some Hasidic stories, and the Hasidim, I'm sure most of you have heard, those are the guys with the long beards and the long black coats, and Hasidim means pious, and they have a history of telling stories to describe the relationships between man and God and the world to come. And Rabbi Glickstein, been talking to me about these, and one of the groups of stories is called reframing. And reframing is a doctrine of where you take a negative, and Norman sort of described this, but I'm going to have to repeat what he said because it's so important to me. That it's reframing is taking a negative situation and finding the positive aspects of it. And that was when the rabbi asked me about, what good could I have or have found or discovered as a result of this. And Norman did talk about my relationship with my wife, which has always been a good relationship, and with my kids, but the way she has come through for me, I just have to make a public announcement of this, and the way she has been supportive of me, and my kids as well, but my wife in particular, who cooks these meals every day, spends hours in the kitchen. I tell her, why don't you get someone? She knows that I like it when she does it, and she does it, and she does whatever is necessary, and she's just been an incredible support for me. And it's made a very big difference. And I'm just very lucky. And one of the really first and most wisest decisions I made is when I asked her to marry me. And when, all these years, people always ask me, how long have you been married? Because they always think she's my second wife. And there have been times when she's my daughter. But, I always know when they ask me, that's what they're really trying to find out. But it's been really, really a wonderful experience. And I want you to know, Elsa, I really appreciate everything that you've done for me and been by my side through the ups and the downs. And also all of you. When you talk about reframing, I never really realized how many friends I really did have, or how people felt about me, until just recently, very recently. And it may not be hard to understand, but somehow, to me, it just was something that never really sank through. And what's happened as a result of all of this is that you all, by showing your support for me, coming here tonight on a Wednesday night in such large numbers, and people who've called me and send me notes and evidence that they care, has been an incredibly wonderful experience for me. And it's been something I probably never would have found out. Except for what's occurred. And that's been a very important thing. And it reminds me, and I was going to talk about my friend Norman, and everybody goes, Norman, the consummate entrepreneur, risk taker, brilliant merchandise and marketing genius. I was going to tell him you all about that, but you all know that. But he's also this incredibly supportive friend who's been there for me that most of you probably don't know, just how giving and good he really is. And things of that kind, and I can go on, and my partners, and I want to thank them, but the important thing is all of you together have created this thing for me that is really a very positive experience. And it reminds me, and this is the end, and it's going to be a little longer, but I know we have time for us to eat. If you all remember the Pride of the Yankees and Gary Cooper in Yankee Stadium, which is now called, the Lou Gehrig's disease. If you remember, there were 70,000 people shouting there, and he said, some people would say that I had a bad break and they feel sorry for me. He said, but I think of myself today as the luckiest man in the world. I remember seeing that. I said, oh, God, this is something. How can that be? And now, because of everything that's happened in the last weeks, because of your support, all of you, I understand what he was talking about. And I really appreciate that you've done this for me. And you just can't understand how much it's meant. And thank you very much. And God bless you. Bye-bye.